teacher X time, counselors, custodial overtime. Hey, what can I say? Barack Obama, 2019. 80 students, 1 proficient for 2019. They had $600,000. Resources for students, $100, $200, $300,000 in positions, $120,000 in instructional supplies. I'm gonna just a couple more. Crenshaw High. Anybody got one they want to see? No. Drew. Crenshaw High School. $1,034,000. What were their test scores? 2018. 2 11th graders out of 120. 2019. 1 11th grader out of 133. And Latinos, same thing. After $1,034,000. And look at where this one is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. $700,000 in position. Resources for students. Intervention, instructional material supplies, and then the rest of it, college board, placement, attendance, conference. So, let's open it up. Give me your impressions about what you've just seen. One of 40,000 strong universities. And of course, it's well known. Nobody?
It's shocking, to say the least. Crenshaw gets $117,000 for math instructional support, and 1 student makes it, or 2. It's sad.
Yeah, and this is they only test in the 11th grade in high school.
I mean, who knows what's going on in the other classrooms, the other grades, but it's sickening.
All right, so the big story. All right.
My name is Jessica. I'm just surprised of how much of the money is spent on conferences and stuff like that, and none. They don't have problem putting none went to the students, and that alone is something you could take before the school board. I mean, before somebody, because that's wrong, and that's wrong. And thank you for paying attention.
But the scary part is that the somebodies that you're mentioning are fully aware of what happened. They had to approve it. You know what I mean? That's the sick part.
That's sad.
Everybody knows this. This isn't a surprise, or LAUSD is responsible for the budgets. Principals are responsible for the budgets. Sick.
Yeah, I think they don't have enough parental involvement to know these types of things. You know, anytime you're relying on a system to educate your children all the way, and as a parent you're not involved, then this is the result of what we get as a community, not having parents involved, because the excuse is we have to go to work, so we have to leave it up to the schools and the teachers, and this is what you get when you leave it up to them.
Also, what is sad is the amount of money that is spent on salaries. It's always been a known fact that 80% of the funding of the district goes to salaries, which is really sad, because that's why a lot of these resources don't reach the kids. And you know, it was startling seeing how much money, you know, they always used to have hiding
I'm on a
places
Zoom.
where they hide money, and that was an instructional material because they could easily move that money. And there's no accountability for this.
Huh?
Also, when we speak about parents not being involved with their kids at school, a large percentages of our students are foster youth. And sometimes there might be in a home that doesn't, that just collects a check. So we have a lot of students, I think, that are neglected that way as well.
We understand. Here is here's Dorsey. I mean, you know, and they had $1 million. Wow, that's kind of out there. 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, 700,000 for positions, 2 instructional coaches, $230,000, and 0 students proficient. All right.
But
So,
that's what I'm saying, the amount they spent on salaries in these positions, you know, and there's no outcome, you know, and the kids, they're, you know, spend some on the.
yeah. Okay, so that's one reason. All right, now next, this is let's share this. All right, this is the volume that I worked on a few years ago, well, a couple years ago. This is the Black Zero Index. And what this is, it's a book that I compiled from test scores over a 15-year period. And this is the graph of Black student achievement from 2003 to 2018. And these are Asians below them at the same period. And the black bars are high school algebra proficiency for all Black students in LAUSD. And you can see it goes from 2003 to 5%. And then in 2013, it was at 20%. And then in 2015, the Common Core test came. So of course it fell off the window. And now we're at 12% proficient in 2019. So it means 90% of our students are graduating from high school mathematically illiterate. And then you compare this with, and then the the light bars are elementary school. And doesn't look that bad until you look at how the Asians are doing. They're at 82, they're at 72% in high school and 60% in, that's 6 times 600%.
Yeah. So it appears that the test was geared toward the Asians.
No.
Because they progress more than anybody else. So the way the test was written, the types of problems they gave.
No.
I can't hear you. What happened? Where'd you
Okay,
go?
somebody, I muted myself.
Oh, okay. Finish up. So you think they wrote the test for the Asians?
Well, that's what I said. I'm saying they wrote it in a way that was most beneficial for the Asians because they made the most progress. Whereas the test became more reading ability. You could no longer just pass because you could compute well. You had to be able to read the problem and understand the thinking that needed to be done to solve it. And that's why we fell off, because they don't teach reading in a way that will help us pass the math, and they don't teach reading for critical thinking in our schools.
Well, that's reading. I'm doing math, but you notice that they fell off too for the Common Core.
Well, I'm saying the math is placed down there on the test in a reading format. So those students who are good at computation, they can't get to the computation because they don't understand the reading of the problem.
And then we go and we look at, let's look at the Latino. Here we see Latinos again are at least 30% higher, and the bottom is white students. So what happened was we looked from years gone by, and actually found what was the schools over all these years that were zero. And this is available online, but these were, you know, tons of examples of schools that in certain years did not get students, get any students proficient. So this is from 2005 to 2018. So that's just something else to see. And then finally, with respect to things that have occurred, there have been tons of initiatives for Black students over the years. And here I've cataloged some. You can see here's the 2005 achievement gap, where they went through the process and did some research. Nothing happened there. Here's 2000.
Did they put any money behind the research?
Yes, there's always money. Money
Okay.
is not the issue.
Okay.
Money is not the issue.
But where did they put the money? To improve the teaching of it or provide more resources?
Did you see the settlement thing that I did? Did you see the settlement?
I haven't seen it, no.
Okay, well, I'll go back to that for you. Here is what they did with LCFF. Here's $1 million, Crenshaw High School. Years got 3 students proficient, and the last year they got $1,034,000, and this is how they spent the money.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all the schools are like that. So when you go to that site, all 50 schools look just like this, and the scores look just like this. And they got that. They got this money for 3 years. So this is the 3rd year. And you can see.
And they spent $25,000 on instructional materials out of $1 million.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, well, look at the research. Well, you weren't here.
Why was academic incentives for attendance taken out of this money?
Well, look, you're talking to the wrong person.
I'm just asking questions.
I don't know.
Okay.
Nobody knows. And I have the actual 3-year plans up here too. So, but this is the point. This is how the money is always spent. And we have the history for that. Okay, so next after that, we have these Black initiatives. And now this is the latest one, 2019.
Okay.
Humanizing education. I had no idea it was inhuman.
Dr. Batie?
Yeah.
Can I just say, because I think the points that Emily's asking for should somehow be, for those of us who are involved in the process as parents, I think we need to explain to her that this lawsuit that was won by Community Coalition, ACLU, and public advocates, this was extra money, Emily, that was given to schools, not Title I. They already had that. They already had Title III. They already had LCFF. This is all additional money. And the background to how these plans came about, you can go back and read those later on. But they were supposed to sit down with parents, students, teachers, and administrators and come to a decision on how this additional money that was going to schools was supposed to be spent. That did not happen.
Okay.
The administrators, superintendents, some teachers were involved, but mostly the administration of LAUSD decided how this money would be used at school sites. It was supposed to go through a whole process called school site councils. Very few school site councils ever saw the money. And so you're asking really real questions. I think what's more important to me as a parent advocate after being involved in this for 12 years is this is the same old.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter how many more millions and trillions and billions you give the school district, they're going to do exactly what they want to do with it. And it doesn't make, and what Dr. Batie is showing us is when it comes to Black children, it has no outcomes. It doesn't matter how much more millions they put in there, 150 million. The last time I sat down, it was 7 million. Then it was 10 million. And we still see that graph. And you ask, well, why is the Asians doing better? It's mathematics. The questions are going to be the same no matter who you are sitting in that room. The difference for the Asian students and our Black students are a whole number of factors that we can all get into for discussion. But the bottom line is they are failed Black children for 30 years. That's it. There's nothing else to talk about. They failed it.
I'm following
I just
you
wanted
now.
to kind of give you that opinion as a parent like Charlotte, who was involved in this process for the last kind of 10, 12 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Beckles. I'm pretty tunnel vision. All right, so we've gone through. We've truly identified what's going on.
Dr. Batie, is there some way you could speak up or put the mic closer to you? We can barely hear you again.
Hang on, I'm still sharing.
I hear.
Okay, you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Not really.
Yeah, it's not too much
Can you
better.
put the mic closer where you are?
Oh, hang on. Let me see. How about now? How about
No, where is the mic relative to your mouth?
a foot?
Well, I can hear him well.
I cannot. It sounds like he's talking at the other end of the room from the microphone.
Is that how everybody else hears it?
No.
It does sound like you're far away.
How about now?
Better.
No difference.
That's better.
Fine.
A bit better.
Okay. So next. So what is? Let's see. What's next? Well, some 25 years ago, a group of men got together and said, what can we do about this? And they began this process of coming together to form a new school district. And this was their first press release. And here, this was 1995. And everything that is on this sheet in 1997, yeah, the time showed 1997, is still true today. You see the mission, the vision, and then this was our press release, launching a breakup petition to create a new school district. Launching a petition drive to create a new school district. That's the press release, and this was the information sheet. And down here are the boundaries. I'll be showing you a map later on. But here at the bottom of this screen, you see what the boundaries are and what the demographics are. And it's still pretty much the same, even though it is 20 years ago. But please notice. And then this was the newspaper article that presented this, because a bunch of schools, Palisades actually got away. They have their own school district now. It's charter, but they're essentially independent. And you see the inner city school district right here. The northern boundary is Olympic. The southern boundary is Imperial. The east boundary is Alameda. and the west boundary is La Cienega. So and you can see a lot of people were attempting to do this back then because of Learn and some other things.
Can everyone remember to mute their microphone, please?
So the inner city school district is this piece that we carved out because it's board district 1. See, most of this is board district 1. See right there, and that's where 40% of the Black students in the Los Angeles Unified School District are located. And this is our 501c3 and our nonprofit status. And we did some, and this was the an article that brought up all the issues with reorganization. Now, obviously, it's a huge, I'm telling you, it's a huge, huge undertaking. You're looking at this, but I think what has always been first and foremost in my mind is if we're not going to go big, we can't go at all, because we've never been able to get anything positive from the Los Angeles Unified School District for the masses of Black students in Los Angeles. And with the shape that they're in now would be the time to strike, because they're really, really floundering. And in looking at these issues that were back then, they are still the same issues. So one of the processes are here with the something that the county has called the School District Reorganization Committee. And there's a handbook. So our idea is to go through this process and come together to be able to start our own school district. And here is the process. Start. You have to do a petition. 8% of the registered voters in the last gubernatorial election. You see that down in the corner. See if I can make it bigger. Yeah, there it is. See down in the corner here. For districts over 200,000, that means the more signatures you get, the more political juice you have. So the petition is found to be sufficient and signed. Now, this petition then goes to the county committee. That's on the LA County School Board. What are they? LACO. And they look at your petition. Now, this public hearing that takes place is one where you have to present all of your documentation, all of your financial statements, all the things. It's like it's a charter for 120 schools and a plan for what you're going to do with them. And it's an up or down vote. If they say no, it's over. If they say yes, you go to the state and get another hearing that looks at what it is you're doing, what your plans are, so forth and so on. And again, it's an up or down vote, but understand these are political processes. You got to pack the boardroom. You got to have those signatures. You got to have people engaged in this process of forming these new governance structures and so forth, of which we have a plan. And because it becomes a political process. There's unions, there's benefits, there's encumbrances, there's the property of, there's $500 billion worth of property in within these boundaries. And then if the petition is approved, hey, you call an election. And that election is an up or down vote. No majority or anything. Whoever gets, if you get the most votes, you get yourself a school district. Now, this has happened before. There was a district in Wiseburg. This is the place.
And this is some of the stuff that they went through, because I saved a lot of it. How many signatures are needed? 8%. Actually, the number is probably like 30 or 40,000. Yeah. I mean, if you want to make some hay, you got to get a bunch of people signing that petition so that they know it ain't just a bunch of people, just trying to raise some hell but not really get anything done. So you really want to have a huge constituency that that the politicians will look up to. You think about it, if you get 20,000 votes in 20,000 signatures in Marquise Dawson's district, he's going to pay attention. So it really is about the organization and having the community together to do it. And I've been doing this for 20 years, and the challenge is getting people to believe that we can do these types of things. Well, how are you going to start a new school district? Well, how are you going to fix the one we got? And that's really what and these are all the docs. They aren't all, but they are a major part of the docs. See, bond indebtedness. You have to go to the legislature for that. So this is a real political process. But the challenge is, what happens if we don't do anything? That is the question. And I think we know. We've seen the history. We've seen what happens. We know what will happen. And it really just, and then here is the petition itself. I just had it redone. Here's the unification petition from the business advisory segment. Here's the rationale. You might want to look at that. And here, this nothing has changed here. Everything here was done in 1995, and it's still true. I give you a chance to look it over. All right, I got. We've on. How we got? We got another hour? Half an hour? Oh, we got 40 minutes. I think we're going to finish early. All right, let's open it up for questions. All right, questions?
Yes. How do we convince the community that a Black school district can be more successful than LAUSD?
Well, your premise is wrong. LAUSD is not successful. So therefore, that's not a good premise. So give me another premise and I'll answer it.
Okay. All right.
Another premise. Oh, okay.
No, well, then how do we convince the community that a Black school district can be successful?
By having a plan and by letting them know that they will be part of the governance of this school system, and not just Black, Latinos too. So I mean, rising tide lifts all boats. But
so how much of the plan can you give somebody in, let's say, a 2-minute spiel so that they will sign the petition?
Well, I think everybody got to develop that for themselves, because I can't do it in 2 minutes, because all that does is you get more questions. There is no cliff notes for this. I mean, you're talking, $2-3 billion budget and $500 billion in property, and I'm going to in 2 minutes why you got to do this. No, we've got to do our homework so that when you do go through that process, you can pull it out, you're familiar with it, and you can make them, hey, you want to sign this so we can do something, or you're not going to sign it so we don't do nothing.
So it could start with the data. If you show them the data where there has been no progress, they may see a reason why we need to start our own school district.
Well, and that's the case too, because a lot of people look at it and still say, well, you can't do that, even though, we're at zero for 20 years.
Yeah.
So there's a mindset there.
And that's a good point. I mean, even if we fail, at least we tried.
There you go.
The bleeding.
There you go. Now we got you.
Okay. All right.
And actually, too, the proof is in the fact that, I mean, it speaks for itself because, there's a lot of parents that have taken their kids out, Black students out of LA Unified and have them in charter schools. So that's part of your proof right there, that the LA Unified is not really providing for our Black students. So it really won't be that hard to convince.
Charters aren't doing any better.
So the charter data looks similar to what you showed us?
You go on there and look at that, and all the charter schools that have Black kids are in there too.
Which means that Black parents, they're looking for something better for their kids. And if the, the charter schools aren't doing much better either, then why not, as start your own school district, and have accountability where, I'm just sorry, that's my word, but, in LAUSD, there's really no accountability for a lot of things that's taking place.
Well, hang on.
That's true.
The word is not accountability, because they have all been accountable for what happened with that money. They've got attendance sheets. They've got satisfaction surveys. They've got whatever the psychologist does when they're talking to them. They have been accountable. They can show the hours that the janitor works.
Okay, then there have been no consequences.
No, the word is outcomes.
True.
That's the word.
Yeah, but
outcomes.
Yeah, there have not been any outcomes, but there also have not been any consequences for them not holding up their end of the bargain.
Well, but there were no consequences on the table. So,
exactly. Exactly.
If there's consequences on the table, so again,
exactly,
that's the system.
Yeah. Then they can go back and blame it on the parents and disinterested students and
and
exactly.
Part of the blame should be on the parents, because the parents are the ones who are the parents of the students, and those are your children. And if you accept what anyone gives you, you have to take some responsibility, even for schools, even for something as simple as education that the government has given us, and we accepted this handout.
Well,
because they're not being properly trained and informed. Also,
that's the pushback. That's the pushback on that.
I just think
they don't do anything for them. Who's talking? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just think that, as parents, we have been just going along with, the day-to-day business and drinking the Kool-Aid, not knowing any better. So once parents are educated,
there you go,
and they see the truth and what's really going on, it will change their mindset, and it'll be like, well, dang, now I thought that I could just drop them off and not worry about them anymore. No. Now I really be vigilant.
Well, there is a problem with survival in Los Angeles. I mean, most of our parents are working 2 and 3 jobs just to keep a roof over their head. Then they got to feed their children. They don't have time to be running up to the school. They expect the school to do their job. So I don't think that we can expect all of our parents to be involved in the school. Now, but will it happen? I mean, because all they have to do is have some kind of rent control increase, and they're out of the school district completely. They have to move.
Yeah, I think
Carlton,
as a single father for a long time, raising 2 kids after my first marriage, I had to really look at my working situation, my bill situation, and I suffered financially by being there for my children, trying to protect my son from the gangs and my daughter from promiscuous activity. And you're right, it is a challenge. I'm not saying that there's any easy answers. What I am saying is that these are our children, and it doesn't matter if it's our fault, it's still our problem. we as
Yeah.
parents we must find a way, and I don't say I have the answers. What I am saying that this forum is a very good forum to discuss and talk and get some
Yes.
ideas, but we must blame, I won't even say blame ourselves, but it's our children that get shot by a drive-by shooting because we chose to live in an area with a 90% homicidal rate. I'm not saying it's your fault, but these are numbers. This is mathematics. As we're talking about math, how do we as parents get the power? And the power comes in, like the Miss Dixon said, at least if we try, at least if we discuss. But at the first, we gotta start from the beginning. What part of it do we play as far as the problem first? That's what I believe. Because we never like to look at ourselves
agree
in the
with
mirror
what
on these.
Carlton is saying. I agree what Carlton is saying. And I just want to add that how parent involvement looks like is not the same for everybody, but what should be the same for everybody is awareness of
Yes.
crime that's
Very
going
good.
Yes.
on. And they can participate at whatever level that they
Yes.
can, depending on where they are in
Yes.
their lives.
Yes.
Great
But the
point.
issue is to make sure, no, the criminal activity, because I consider this a criminal activity, because in November, they're going to put a bill on the ballot that they're going to want us to vote yes on for them to get more money. Well, no, if you have not been a good steward of the dollars that you have already had, then why do I want to say yes for you to get more money so we get the same results? No. So it's education, I think.
May I say something?
Somebody unmute. Okay. I think that's enough for tonight.
Wow.
I would like to say something. Hi, this is Gwen. There's another group that, I don't know if you can hear me, but there's another group that's going around. And before the COVID thing started getting real big, they were going around to the Black churches. And they even came to my church. These are a lot of charter schools, and they have their lawyers, these big famous white lawyers, and they're going around to the Black churches. And what they're trying to do is put out they want to gather signatures for a petition to get on the ballot. They want to get this passed on a ballot where the money, instead of it going directly to the schools, that it goes to the parents or the caregivers, and it goes into a bank account. And the parents take that money and use it the way they want to use it, or to whatever school they want to use it at. And this is the big thing now, and it's being done with the help of a lot of charter schools. So this is something you need to watch out for.
That's scary.
Yes, yes. And my question was, oh, well, what's to stop Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Lucy, or whoever from spending that money? And it's not going to the school. And they start scratching their heads. Oh, it's not good. What they want to do is defund LAUSD. And that's their goal. So once you take the money away from them, you automatically defund them.
Well, the challenge the challenge with that it was tried before. It's called vouchers. And what happens with vouchers is you don't get the same amount of money with a voucher as you do with ADA. And the money that they'll give you isn't going to be enough to support a child. So I was head of the Southern California region for the voucher program. And Vernon Robinson, who's on this call, you know, got me into that crap. And, you know, we went pretty far with it. But then we sat down one day in my office and said, well, what can you do with $2,500? What can you do with $4,000? You cannot educate a group of students at $4,000 a head. It's just not possible because you got to pay for a building first off. Because if you're not in a public school, all charter schools are paying mortgages. So don't take the bait. That one's just, that's a non-starter because when you sit down and look at the numbers, it's just not doable. Okay, next week, we are going to get into the nuts and bolts of beginning to understand our restructure. No, I'm not saying, I'm going to say our reimagination model. We are reimagining what a school board looks like. We are reimagining what a school district looks like. We are reimagining what schools look like. And we have a model that's been implemented right here in Los Angeles very successfully. Ms. Bacon? She's gone. But we were very successful in this parent this parent model where parents have as much say as anyone. And we're talking about a different kind of school board that's made up like a legislature where representatives from each school are there. And this is the accelerated schools model that was posited some 20, 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago. It was very successful, implemented at View Park. View Park was one of the best schools in the state back then, but hey, stuff happens. I don't know if we'll get into that or not, but that's our next thing. And then after that, we will be looking at an organization model and then begin training in this accelerated schools model so that when that comes up, because that's really the deal maker, is getting parents to know that they will have a say in everything about their school and most things, a lot of things about the school district. So one more round of questions and tell a friend next week.
Type your email address in the chat if you can. That way we can add you to the mailing list.
Yes.
See articles that he showed and things like that. And bring a couple friends for next week.
So type your email address in the chat. We're recording this. It'll be online for you to see again. All our sessions will be recorded. And I appreciate everyone showing up. Any more questions, comments, criticism?
Can you guys mute yourselves?
Yeah, who's not muted? Everybody mute yourself. Oh, I do?
When you see that they're not.
Yeah.
Everybody's good now.
Okay. Oh, I muted myself. What does that mean? What does that dot mean?
No, you're good. That's
Oh.
important.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm still waiting to see some emails in the chat. Unless you don't want to do it.
There's a few in there.
Oh, it is? I don't see them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Dr. Batie. Good night.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Okay.
I thought there's gonna be one more round of questions, dear.
Nobody wanted to do anything.
No, that's not true. You muted everyone.
Well,
Hello,
okay.
can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us, Dr. Batie, I know the answer to this. I don't know if many other of our friends on this call do. Can you tell me what was done the last time parents tried to split up LA Unified? It was about 10 years ago. Tell us how the district reacted to that, what they had done at that time. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Are you talking about Wiseburn?
No, I'm talking about LA Unified, when the Valley tried to pull away about 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, that was the same thing. Well, what happens is they have, people that just come forward and take the wind out of the sail. And that was racial. They didn't have it. I mean, some of the top performing schools are out there in the Valley. That's racial. That's straight up, just like Palisades, because now they don't have to take any black and brown students. So here we're talking about, actual egregious failures where you you put out generation upon generation of illiterate students. That doesn't happen in the Valley. So it was a different animal, and people were trying to segregate themselves with power plays and all those other kinds of stuff. So that was different. Wiseburn was different because they had a real beef with Redondo. So it's a difficult proposition, and you got to have a lot of people. And they would have had trouble getting them 20,000 signatures too. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Quick follow-up. Hold on, sorry. Quick follow-up. Actually, what I was referring to is that, Yolanda, you might know this. It might have been before your time. 10 or 11 years ago, or every so often, the Valley would try to break away from LA Unified. Every so many years. Last time they tried to do this, my understanding was the district went to the state and got the ed code changed so that the only way to break up a school district is for it to come from the legislature. Did you know that?
Well, that's still true.
But I mean, that wasn't the case before what I'm talking about. In other words, the district went ahead and used their influence with the legislature to make it very difficult for petitions to come up to break up LAUSD.
Yeah, well, I said
they acted in their own self-interest, self-preservation, and against the kids.
It ain't easy. Of course. What's the alternative?
I think maybe instead of trying to break up LAUSD, you created, like what you're talking about, an alternative or another choice, and be so phenomenal and so amazing that people are going to want to bring their children to what you're talking about. Just showing the stats of the zero index right there, if parents knew that even existed, that would pique people's interest already. Be like, you know what, I need to look more into this direction. So
those are our schools. Those are our schools.
Excuse me?
Those are our schools. They belong to us. We're paying for them. They don't belong to the school district. So if we want them, we should make a play for them.
Yeah, I understand that, but you can work from backwards to forward instead of going right up against something that you say that it's almost impossible to fight.
Yeah, well, that's what they said about David too, didn't they?
Right. No, I understand. I agree 100%, but we have to be creative.
Don't put them.
That's for sure.
There.
I have a question.
Be creative.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is it that's going to say that if you start another district, that it's going to be better than LAUSD?
It cannot be any worse.
Are you sure?
Are you less than zero? What's less than zero?
Right.
You don't have anything less than zero.
Yeah, black zero.
No, that's still zero. No. So
okay.
Unless you got some other way to do that, Gwen, you probably on the wrong call. Because the idea that you going, how you gonna make something better than LAUSD? Hey, you got a problem, hon.
Who do we hold accountable?
We're not talking about you missed the call. You missed the call. Hey, hang around. You'll get the plan.
Right.
If you can take it.
Right. I think we're all stuck on this. Who are we going to hold accountable? I think when you all realize what we're creating, it's going to be ourselves. That's where we're going to begin. That's going to be the difference in this process than what we've got right now. Right now, let's be honest. I have gone to board meeting after board meetings, arguing to hold people accountable. And they go, thank you, Miss Beckles. Thank you, Paul Roback. Thank you, Gwendolyn. And we ain't seen a damn difference. And I've lived in this country for 12 years. Let's stop with talking about them and let's talk about what we gonna do to create a vision that, like those kids and Black Lives Matter has done in the last 12 weeks, have shown us that you can change the world when you are focused on change. And that's all we got to be. Focus on, forget LAUSD and the board meetings Sunday, and Dr. McKenna fell asleep and he woke up for it. Oh, I'm done. Let's focus on the change for Black and brown children, just like they are in Black Lives Matter when it comes to education. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you very much. See you next week. Same bat time, same bat station.
I think Paul was trying to say something.
What?
Right?
Go ahead.
I think Paul was trying to say something.
What?
Yeah, he was waving.
Now I was just applauding everyone's comments. It's nice to see you all here. Let's think. Someone mentioned the need to be creative. I agree. We have to be creative. Creative. If you think about one definition of insanity, right? You know what I'm talking about. Insanity is doing the same thing you've always done and expecting different results. We've worked with the district. We've begged and pleaded for table scraps for not years, for not decades, for generations. So whoever of my distinguished brothers or sisters said, well, let's not, go outside. Let's try to work with them. It ain't gonna work because it ain't never worked. We've been there, we've done that, right? Can I get an amen? We've been there, we've done that. It's not working. We have no choice now but to go around the big red elephant in the room. You know who I'm talking about. We need to start something on our own because they're never gonna listen to us because they don't have to listen to us. They don't have to listen to us. We can't force them to listen to us, except when we're standing in front of that lectern at the board meeting for 3 minutes, and they're saying, thank you, Ms. Beckle. Thank you, Mr. Godinez. Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Next on the agenda is, and they go to whatever they were going to talk about anyway. They don't listen, and they don't give a damn. You all have to understand that. They're not listening. They will not listen. That's all I have to say. I would say the same thing over and over. They're not listening because they don't have to listen. Let's be creative, really creative, go around them and get our own thing together. Only that is being creative.
40,000 signatures. That's all we need. 40,000 signatures. That's it.
It starts right there.
Hey. Good
all
night.
Right, thank you, Paul. Good night. Miss Jackson.
Good night.
Good night. See you next week. Vernon.
All right, then.
What's up, Eli? Call me back.
Bye-bye.
He's in Alabama.
Bye.
Hi, Michael.